And mute.
The Senate will please come to order. Please join me in a moment of silence today and move a devotional. Thank you. Are there any announcements? Seeing none, we have one Senate bill for introduction. S-96, an act relating to the State Planning Office, introduced by Senator Rahm. Please listen to the first reading.
S-96, an act relating to the State Planning Office.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Government Operations. We have one House bill for reference, H-89, an act relating to limiting liability for agro-tourism, which was introduced by Representative Yanatashka of Charlotte. It passed the House on February 23rd, 2021. Please listen to the first reading.
H-89, an act relating to limiting liability for agro-tourism.
The bill has been read a first time and is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. This brings us to the orders of the day. We have on the calendar for third reading, S-45, which was ordered on February 24th. Are there any amendments before third reading? Seeing none, we'll move to third reading. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S-45, an act relating to earned discharge from probation.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please unmute and signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've passed S-45. We have for second reading, S-11, which was introduced on January 12th, 2021. It was referred to the Committee on Judiciary, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the bill be amended as appears on pages 152 to 154 of today's calendar, and that when so amended, the bill ought to pass. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
S-11, an act relating to prohibiting robocalls.
The chair recognizes the senator from Bennington, Senator Sears, for the report of the Committee on Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to first recognize the co-sponsor of the bill, Senator Brock from Franklin County. He and I have been trying to get this bill through for several years, and hopefully the other body will take it up this year if we pass it through the Senate. I was going to start out with asking a question that all those who like robocalls please stand, but obviously that wouldn't work under our current system of Zoom meetings. But we're trying to create a law. S-11 is an attempt to create a law that is functional at the state level, and understanding the federal law is very complex. One of the facts that your Committee on Judiciary learned is that 2/3 to 3/4 of all robocalls are scams. There's a good reason for us to try to do what we can as one little state to regulate robocalls, the number of scams involved in those robocalls. It's difficult to bring robocallers into compliance with even federal law, so we do try to keep this simple. The bill itself does create a state law that prohibits, that creates a prohibition on robocalls that are made in violation of the current federal law, particularly the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, 47 United States Code 227. The Telemarketing and Consumer Fraud and Abuse Prevention Act and the regulations adopted pursuant to those statutes. Section 1 of the bill adds a new section of law, 9 VSA 2464E, robocalls prohibition penalty. Subsection A expresses the intent of the General Assembly to create a state law prohibition on automatic telephone dialing systems and robocalls that is coextensive with federal prohibitions. And 2, to continue to permit certain robocalls to the extent they're allowed under federal law. And those exceptions include calls made for emergency purposes, calls made with prior express written consent of the called party, calls conveying messages that are purely informational, calls concerning the collection of debt, but not including calls that attempt to sell consumers services to reduce debt. Unfortunately, it also includes political calls and also obviously you can make calls from healthcare providers, and it allows messages from charities, provided that if the call originates from a person whom the charity hires to make a call on the charity's behalf, the call may only go to members of the charity or prior donors, and provided further that such callers include an automatic option to allow a consumer to stop future calls. Section B of the bill adopts the federal definition of automatic telephone dialing system from the TCPA. Subsection C creates the state law prohibition of robocalls made in violation of federal law under TCPA and TCFAPA. Among other requirements in these laws, a person may not use an automatic dialing system or artificial pre-recorded voice to any emergency line, guest room in a hospital or similar facility, any pager, cell phone, or special radio. Exceptions to those are prior express consent, emergency purposes, to collect a debt to the United States government, and for telemarketing exceptions, prior express written consent for sales of goods and services, prior express consent if by and behalf of a nonprofit, healthcare-related message from the entity subject to HIPAA. Also, shall not initiate a telephone call to any residential line using an artificial or pre-recorded voice to deliver a message. And the exceptions to that are prior written consent, emergency purposes, non-commercial purpose, commercial purpose but no advertising or telemarketing, or by on behalf of a tax-exempt nonprofit organization. Section D creates a civil violation, the robocall. It would be in violation of 9 VSA 2453, the Vermont Consumer Protection Act. Each telephone call is a separate violation. A person who receives a robocall in violation may bring an action in Superior Court for actual damages of a civil penalty of $500, or a civil penalty of $500 for a first violation and $1,000 for subsequent violations. It also provides for injunctive relief, punitive damages in the case of a willful violation, and reasonable costs and attorney's fees. Subsection E creates a criminal violation of 90 days to a $1,000 fine or both per violation, and each telephone call is a separate violation. Subsection F directs the Attorney General to work cooperatively with other government entities to identify robocallers and enforce provisions of this law. Effective date is July 1, 2021. Madam President, during the course of our testimony on this bill, we heard from the Attorney General's office, who felt that it was an important thing to have in the toolbox while it may be difficult to enforce. We heard from the Department of Public Service, and they too support the bill, but again agree that it's very complex to enforce robocall laws. We also heard from Chris Delia, the Vermont Banking Association, and Madam President, the vote in committee was 5-0-0. Some may ask, well, what good does this bill do? And the answer is, it may not do a heck of a lot at first, But we believe that other states may join Vermont in passing their own robocall laws, which would force Congress to actually take effective action. And so I'm hoping that this starts a trend like we have in so many other areas where we get the ball rolling here. During the last time I was reporting a bill on the floor, I think I got a robocall, and you all heard it on during the live session. They are very, as I must say, annoying, but the fact that so many of them are scams is really of concern, particularly for seniors and other vulnerable groups. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Judiciary? The senator from Franklin is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Robocalls have become the black flies of the internet age. They're ubiquitous and there's no vaccine for them. Many of us have tools to prevent robocalls. I use them as well, and they're of very limited effectiveness. Every day in which I'm on Zoom calls, I get a minimum of 5 and sometimes as many as 10 robocalls, both on my home and on my mobile telephone. This particular bill, in theory, may not do much, but it's modeled on a bill that the state of Indiana put in place several years ago. And in 5 years, they managed to collect $12 million from robocallers, principally outside of their state. And the idea here is that robocallers are, from time to time, caught and identified, particularly by federal authorities. And this allows the Attorney General's office, in coordination with them, to file suit as well, or to pursue, or more likely to pursue, criminal activities and criminal penalties that could allow some of the money that's recouped to return to Vermont. There's a myth that most robocallers, or virtually all robocallers, are people in some foreign country. But in many cases, many of these scams are perpetrated here in the United States and by people who are potentially reachable by our laws. We're not suggesting to create a robocall police, but we are suggesting it's important to have the ability to add on to what the federal authorities are able to do, and also to try to recoup some damages for the citizens of Vermont. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The senator from Chittenden is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. May I inquire of the reporter?
You may.
I'm looking at number 2, section 1, 2C, calls conveying messages that are purely informational, which are excluded from as violators. So, and I'm just wondering, did you talk about calls such that would be like a prescription drug call, providing all the information that you might need to solve to cure your rheumatoid arthritis or others that right now we see TV ads that are, quote, educational, end quote. So I'm wondering if you talked about.
I believe that section, what we believe is acceptable, is where we get a call from the local high school at school, well, snow days, for example, which we don't get right now, I guess, in many places, but those kind of notices that are generally, my son's school, he got a notice that they were closed and going remote because of COVID a couple of weeks ago. So that type of robocall would be informational. And that's acceptable. And also, I do get calls from CVS telling me my prescription's ready, or I get texts from my other pharmacy to tell me that my prescription's ready. That's acceptable.
So it wouldn't exclude the constant advertising that we see around that purport to be educational.
It's not. I believe it's. I'll check before third reading. I believe it's not our intent to allow them to let you know as your final. It might be informational that you've run out of your car. That you need this drug or whatever. how many of us get calls that this is our final notice that our car warranty is up? That's not necessarily information. We also say, thank God it's the final notice.
But the final notice can go on for several different calls.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Judiciary? The senator from Windsor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I inquire of the reporter of the bill, please?
You may.
Thank you. I'd love to know what the Attorney General's statistics are on the number of robocalls that actually result in a scam. I mean, I know you mentioned that up to two-thirds of the robocalls are scams, but how?
I believe that's a national figure, 3/4 to 2/3. 2/3 to 3/4 are actually scams.
And on our Attorney General's consumer protection and consumer complaint line, how high up are the robocalls as a complaint, and how big a problem is this in Vermont?
We did not get that information from the Attorney General's office. We were, but I can certainly try to find out.
I think it would be helpful for people to understand what the scale of the problem is here in Vermont. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Judiciary? All those in favor, please unmute and signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've amended the bill as recommended by the Committee on Judiciary. The question now is, shall the bill be read for a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, please unmute. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of S11. This concludes the orders of the day. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Pending announcements, I move that the Senate stand in adjournment until Friday, February 26th at 11:30.
The senator from Windham has moved that subject to any announcements, the Senate do adjourn until Friday, February 26th at 11:30. Are there any announcements? The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Government Operations will meet at 1:30.
Thank you. The senator from Addison is recognized.
Senate Natural Resources and Energy starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further announcements? The senator from Caledonia is recognized. The senior senator.
Thank you, Madam President. Check your email, but I believe Senate appropriations will start at 2:15 this afternoon, followed by testimony from Congressman Welch. Thank you.
Thank you. And with respect, the junior senator from Caledonia.
Thank you, Madam President. The Senate Institutions Committee will meet at 2:15.
Thank you. And the senator from Bennington is also recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Education will meet at 1:30. And may I inquire of the President Pro Tem?
If the President Pro Tem so desires. Yes? Yes, that is, you may.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, are all senators expected to go to the 2 o'clock joint assembly? We've just been hearing mixed. I'm just wondering if you could clarify what your expectation is for this afternoon.
It will be a very brief joint assembly, so I would encourage people to log on. It should not take very long at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? The senator from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Now that's cleared up, Senate Finance will meet after the joint assembly.
Thank you. The senator from Windham is recognized. All set. Hearing no additional announcements, the senator from Wyndham has moved the Senate adjourn until Friday, February 26th at 11:30. Are you ready for the question? So please unmute. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands